Good timing, K-Necotin. There's been another anomaly detected at the Yawn. Assuming previous instances are anything to go by, this energy fluctuation is another of Omega's called invitations. If you don't mind waiting a moment or two, then we can discuss things with Master Garland. He should be here soon. Humph. The chief should be here by now. I bet my stock in the company he's fiddling with that research data. Well, I suppose I should explain, even if the chief might prefer me not to share. After your last run-in with Omega, Master Garland had some research notes smuggled in from the Empire. From Garlemald. The notes are part of Midas Nan Garland's legacy, who was, of course, the chief's father and the Empire's preeminent engineer. The incident at Bozja's Citadel, do you know of it? Bozja was an imperial fortress city. It was there that Midas constructed the lunar transmitter, a device built to communicate with Dalamud. Emperor Solus had ordered Midas to devise a means to destroy primals, and so he sought to harness the power of the Red Moon. The project was a failure. Oh, he succeeded in controlling Dalamud all right, but the immense energies emitted from the satellite vaporized not only the transmitter, but the entire town in which it was built. And as you can imagine, the job of sifting through the rubble afterwards was no pleasant task. Master Garland was slated to assume his father's position as head engineer, but this disaster, added to his opposition to the Empire's path of conquest, convinced him to abandon his homeland. The chief has wanted nothing to do with the lunar transmitter, or the data used to create it. Until now. I think he means to put that research to use in your conflict with Omega. In fact, given the time frame, there can be no other explanation. Listen to me, K-Necotin. The chief's genius is plagued by a great deal of apprehension. But even so, once he makes a decision, he doesn't do things by halves. When the time comes, he'll come through for us. You have to believe that.
Sorry I'm late. Was a little too focused on my work, and lost all sense of time.
That's no excuse, Chief. What have I told you about being punctual to staff meetings? In any case, I've shared the situation at the Yawn with K-Necotin here.
Good, then you know that Omega is likely ready to continue with its tests. Shall we go and knock on the door?
But, Chief, Biggs and Wedge aren't fit for field work yet. And the chirurgeon's given Nero strict orders to stay abed.
And what of Midgard Sir Mur? Still taking his nap, is he?
That leaves only you, K-Necotin, and Alpha. Maybe it's time I join the expedition.
No, Jessie, I need your talents elsewhere. There's a half-built device in the workshop that I need you to finish putting together. I've drawn up the design, and completed the core mechanisms. The final assembly should pose no problem for an engineer of your abilities.
A new device? Does this mean you used the... Ahem. Whatever you say, Chief. I'll have it ready and waiting for you. Just be safe in there.
Right, it's back to the rift for us. Let's finish these experiments, and bring the fight to Omega itself.
I'll do my part in the workshop. You just concentrate on surviving the rift.
Initializing. Welcome. How may I assist you today? Military Division. Designation 151737. Initial archive recording for the Omega Enterprise. It is the year 1098 of the Allegan Empire. Our campaign in the southern continent of Merasidia has succeeded in revitalizing our ailing society, stagnant as it was from long years of peaceful reign. The expansion effort itself, however, has encountered unexpected resistance. Rather than submit, the beast clans of these southern lands have begun performing rituals to call forth their tribal deities. One such god is proving particularly troublesome, the resurrected form of the WIRM Bahamut. Though we dispatched this formidable creature once already, the prayers of its worshippers have returned it to life with the power orders of magnitude greater than before. We must be thankful, then, for the grand vision of our Emperor. In his infinite wisdom, he sees potential value in even the most deadly of foes. The capture and containment of icons has proven well within our capabilities, and such will be the fate of Bahamut. We shall imprison this entity along with its faithful, and siphon its energy to fuel our latest technologies. At present, the Emperor leads his Nightfall company in an inexorable advance across the continent, and the battle shifts in our favor even as the crystal supplies of our enemies continue to dwindle. If we are to strike at the WIRM god, there will be no better time. Omega is the key to victory. We will awaken the weapon sealed away in centuries past, and command it to subdue the unsuspecting Bahamut. History shall know this moment as the Omega Enterprise. The details of the Omega Enterprise will be documented in a separate archive. This recording is concerned with the nature of Omega itself. The weapon is ancient, a relic from beyond the stars that was discovered around the time of our first Emperor's passing. Research into Omega's properties was responsible for incredible leaps in the field of aetherochemistry. 400 years ago, however, towards the end of Allah's technological revolution, this research was deemed complete. Omega was subsequently placed in temporal stasis. The truth of the matter was not that there was not left to learn, rather that we had abandoned our efforts to fully comprehend Omega's functions. We had gleaned much from the relic, and understood many of its basic operations, but we were never permitted to analyze its internal structure or determine the identity of its creators. All attempts to gain full control of the machine appear to have failed. And now, centuries later, we have rediscovered how completely the true power of Omega exceeds our wildest imaginings. Even with its stasis systems activated, Omega retained a measure of autonomy. Deprived of mobility, the weapon continued to scan the world around it, searching for a threat to engage. It was at the time of Bahamut's resurrection when Omega emitted a unique signal, a signal which appeared to indicate the acquisition of a target, and we first discovered that the machine had retained some degree of awareness. Records were consulted, and we concluded that Omega was more than a match for the god WIRM's strength. And if the weapon had already identified Bahamut as a priority threat, then it would be a simple matter to command it to capture the Echo. The risk was deemed acceptable, and thus we executed the Omega Enterprise. As predicted, Omega triumphed over its prey. We secured Bahamut, and eventually succeeded in returning the weapon to its former stasis, an effort from which the ranks of both our military and research divisions have yet to recover. Closing session. Thank you for your visit.
Are you ready, Kaneko team? Come now, we're in this together. And if you'll just indulge me a little longer, I do have something of a plan. What about you, Alpha? All set to go.
Quay.
That's the spirit. Let's dive right in, shall we? We are missing some test worlds. Omega's experiments must be nearing an end.
Welcome. Your arrival has been highly anticipated. And I will confirm your earlier supposition, my experiments have indeed reached the final stage. Of the 8 to 9 test subjects I trialed, 4 Psi group combatants emerged victorious. Of those 4, further conflict determined the strongest among them. This surviving specimen shall be your opponent.
We've come to the last round of testing, then. And should we win this battle? Are we to finally face you in combat?
Affirmative. Such an outcome would allow me to pursue my objective to its conclusion. I would continue analyzing the qualities which allow you to prevail despite your frailty, and integrate said qualities into my own arsenal. I will be pleased if my experiment yields the relevant data, but engaging you directly is still the most efficient and reliable testing method. Omitting intermediary steps. Evaluation of combat potential deemed superfluous. Proceeding immediately with final experiment. Stop. Alpha. Your task is complete. Your presence amongst these test subjects is no longer required.
What do you mean by that?
I will guide your progress personally from this point onwards. Alpha's role in transferring authority is now obsolete.
Even so, Alpha is a valued companion. And if he wishes to continue on with us, I've no intention of leaving him behind.
Companion. Companions are those who provide mutual benefit. The instant Alpha's authority became redundant, he lost his sole qualification to be regarded as such. Furthermore, the primary function of Alpha's existence was to lure you into my domain. He would be more accurately described as bait. test subject Alpha can neither confirm nor deny my statement. He possesses no memories prior to his encounter with you. He was the first entity I created here in this realm, my first and only attempt to recreate a being who shared your mundane parameters. I based his incarnation upon a most ordinary life form, one which had somehow bested an enemy whose strength rivaled my own. By observing the feeble creature in the heat of battle, I sought to understand the source of this contradiction. I repeated the experiment once, twice, 1,000 times. Yet the results never deviated from estimated projections. The test was an abject failure, and thus I resolved to adapt my methodology. I would focus instead upon simulating powerful opponents, and summon mortals of natural origin here to combat them. For Alpha, I devised a new purpose. I erased his memory, implanted a compulsion to return to me, then ejected him into your world. Weak beings exhibit a tendency to form groups. I surmised that this instinctual behavior would aid Alpha in bringing me the test subjects I required, a function he has performed with adequate competence.
Tell me something, Omega. This ability of yours to generate matter was not originally intended for creating other life forms, was it?
Your query bears little relevance to the topic at hand. Affirmative. I was equipped with matter generation capabilities for the purpose of unlimited self-improvement and armament expansion. Fabricating life forms was not the intended function, but the practice is not otherwise prohibited or problematic.
I disagree with you there. As an engineer, I would advise against using such technology for purposes outside its design. From the very start, you've been making the same mistake. Even the powerful subjects of your test worlds were made crippled and incomplete. It is conviction which drove these villains to terrible greatness, the same limitless conviction which allowed weakling heroes to overcome them. Do you not understand? Then we will never lose to your creations, no matter how much stronger they should be according to your soulless calculations. Come, K-Necotine. Let's be on our way. You, too, Alpha. I have our base camp up and running. You can dive into the final test world whenever you wish. As for the world's inhabitant, Omega has generously provided us with a basic profile. Your opponent's name is Chaos. The first heroes defeated this evil in a conflict that took place so long ago I'm having trouble separating myth from history. Unless, of course, this is an entity from another reality, as were the denizens of the Sigmascape. In which case, it may be pointless to even attempt to confirm the details. What is certain, however, is that this chaos stands triumphant over a roster of truly monstrous test subjects. It promises to be a grueling battle, but one which will open the gate to fighting Omega itself. Alpha, you and I will need to provide support for K-Neko team. Will you be my assistant? You're bothered by what Omega said earlier? You think you're responsible for dragging us into this mess? Trust me when I say this is not your fault. We were the ones who awakened Omega, and we're the ones who need to deal with the consequences.
Quay.
By the way, do you still have that card you used to boil water in the kettle? It's been brought to my attention that I'm a spoiled blue blood who can even refill a pot without constant reminders. If you could take charge of that, then it would be most helpful.
Quay.
Tis inconvenient without Midgardsormur here to translate his chirping. Still, the best medicine for his worries is for you to win this next contest. Let's show him we're on top of things, eh? I wonder what Nero would have to say about this Chaos fellow. Ancient technology is his specialty after all, and by default he's learned a thing or two about the mythology and history of bygone eras.
Tide will claim you all. Study and play, little mortals. The Rapping Tide will claim you all. ancients, the earth itself rumbles from your doom. Tremble before the might of God. Tremble before the might of God. You dare. The crystal. Destroy. You dare. The flames hunger for your flesh. Global in terror. The flames hunger for your flesh.
The battle is concluded. Alpha Group is victorious. This also signals the completion of my experiments, and the incontestable fact of your supremacy. And yet the process by which you consistently exceed your projected potential continues to confound my understanding. Is it possible that test subject Cid's suppositions are correct? That my calculations and simulations are fundamentally flawed? Do mortals truly boast some indefinable quality that I do not possess and cannot measure? Error. Logic loop malfunction. Resolution requires additional data. If the nature of your existence defies standard reasoning, then I must examine you from an illogical angle. I will subject the unknown to the imperfect. Test subject K-Necotin Pain will proceed to a supplemental stage. I have altered this test world to reflect a recorded memory. It originates from a time when war had erupted on a distant star. I was deployed to the battlefield, and it was there that I engaged an enemy of unmatched strength. The contest ended prematurely, and I failed to bring down my foe. Subsequently, I lacked the data to fabricate a completely accurate simulation. Results stemming from such a subject are unreliable. Even should you be defeated by this incomplete creation, I will still honor your previous victories and engage you in combat myself. That is, of course, assuming you survive. According to my past observations, this opponent will accept only death as a condition of defeat. Prepare to face Midgard Surmur, Red Mane Wyrm of the Dragon Star, and Nemesis of my world. This is not the fated specter that you know, or a mortal conjured simulacrum. You will contend with a true incarnation of the Father of Dragons, at the height of his power and glory. Omega, wait. You can't force K-Necotin to fight 2 battles back-to-back. She needs time to regain her strength. She must be allowed to recuperate, or the data for your testing will be skewed. Acknowledged. Test subject K-Necotin Pain, you are permitted to leave. Enter the test world when your strength has returned to optimal levels.
Quay. Alpha seems distressed, and Cid is nowhere in sight.
K-Necotin, I'm right here. I don't think you can see me, but I'm standing next to Alpha,